Good morning, everyone. So one of the things about the Seven Circles garden is that it's always evolving, always changing, especially as I learn more, you all learn more, and as things grow in the garden, it might mean that you can't grow things next to it, or you can grow things next to it. So one of the things I'm kind of talking about is circle one, for example, it's that circle right when you walk in the gate to the left, and there was nothing in it. And now usually we grow things like cucumbers, zucchinis, tomatoes. It's basically only used for summer crops that can handle the absolutely intense heat that circle one gets. But one of the things I wanted to do is use it year round. I don't want to just be using it for summer because that seems kind of like a waste of space. So one of the things I've been doing in circle one is putting plants around circle one that are going to get big and provide shade for the little babies that will go in circle one. Another thing that circle one has is gophers. And in the past, we've just planted, plants in gopher baskets inside or in directly into the ground. And while that's been fine, the gophers are just evolving and they're able to still eat the plants, or the plants then don't have as much room for their roots to grow, so they're not as healthy. And we really saw that last summer when we tried to grow tomatoes, cucumbers, and zucchinis here, and we got 2 zucchinis, no cucumbers, and like 17 tomatoes, which is not our normal, our normal harvest. In years past, we've had, zucchinis the size of your arm, and cucumbers, just this thick, and just tons and tons of tomatoes, more than we knew what to do with. So we got to get back to that. So I'm going to show you really quick what I've done in circle one to change it up. And then I'm going to show you my next big project. Up on circle one here, I'm actually in the back of it. You can see that I planted these guys. These are polygalas. And now we have these by circle three, way over there, and you might be able to see them. They're about 7 or 8 feet tall. This is going to provide shade for this half of circle one. And it's also going to encourage the bees, because bees love this guy, encourage the pollinators to come into circle one. Speaking of gophers, here's a gopher hole, and there's a gopher. Oh, do you see him? Yeah, so clearly we've got a problem, but that's okay. We just have to work around it. Circling back around the other side of circle one, you guys can see there's the front gate. We planted a persimmon tree here, so this guy will shade out this whole area here, which will be really nice. And we've got raised beds, which is really exciting. The sprinkler's going right now, but the raised beds are made out of an old fence that I was able to find for free off of Facebook Marketplace, and I just have been screwing in some of these brackets to hold it together, and voila, 1, 2, 3 raised beds from that fence, and I've got a ton more wood over there and a ton more wood there to make probably 3 or 4 more raised beds. We had these boxes up in circle 6, but I brought them down here. This is an old fence, nope, not fence, bed slats that I just put into these really cool cinder blocks that are made for building raised beds. Of course, I lined all of them with gopher wire. That's what that wire there is. And the gopher wire is going to help keep the gophers out, obviously. We also did the core gardening method, as we talked about in a video a couple months ago, where there's sticks and straw, and then eventually we're going to put some mycorrhiza, some fungus inoculant, and then cover that with soil, and they'll start looking like this. Over on this side we've got big tomatoes. This will be cherry tomatoes. In the back there you can't see because the borage is in the way. We've got rue and chives. We'll pop things like cucumbers, pumpkins, melons, zucchinis in this side here. So we're really modeling this guy after circle 4, which has been super productive. The other big project I'm working on, it's not really that big, but I think it's going to help the garden significantly. So we have a compost system. I'm going to call it more of a situation, because I wouldn't call it a system because it's not working. Because it's all the way up the hill and we don't add enough to it. I think because we have to then wheelbarrow or bring everything up the hill, and that just is like, I don't know, personally I feel I'm tired. I'm not going to lug hay bales up the hill to go compost. But if we create a compost system at the bottom of the hill, right here, then maybe we'll use it more. So my goal is really, gardening comes down to soil. If your garden's successful, that means you've got good soil. If your garden's not successful, it's nothing you're doing wrong, it's the soil. Healthy soil equals a healthy garden. And the best way to get healthy soil is to build and make and create beautiful compost. But you can't make compost if you're not making compost. If you're not putting anything in the compost pile, no compost is gonna come. Unfortunately, it's not magic. So what I'm doing down here, I'll show you just one moment, is right next to circle 1 at the bottom of the hill, I'm like, let's just move our compost system down here so we can access it, so we can use it. So when you guys are raking the leaves by the stage area, instead of having to lug it up the hill, you just come down and drop it in a leaf collecting zone. It's right next to a hose so we can keep it moist. It's in the shade so it won't get too hot. I think it's maybe the perfect plan. Circle 1, as we were just showing you, and this is where the new system's gonna go. So we're gonna have like a big leaf drop area here. So when we're raking all the leaves and such, or we're, collecting leaves from around the school, or hay bales or straw bales, anything like that, it's gonna get dropped here. This is like the zone. So then now the straw bales won't be in this walkway, which is kind of the most convenient place to put them, because we did not want to lug them all the way up the hill. But now we can just scoot them here, little holding zone. Then come over here, we'll have probably 2 or 3 bays. I have to see how much I can fit here. But a bay is going to be the space for the compost. Bay is going to be a space for compost. So there'll be 1, 2, maybe 3. Basically what happens is I'm taking these pallets, I'm screwing them together with a little bracket so that they don't fall over. We'll get another side here, and you fill it. This will be the building side, and we'll build it. We'll put food scraps, we'll put the straw and the leaves and dirt and whatever else we find, weeds, will go here, we'll build it up, and then we'll turn it and move it into the next bay, into the next area. Then once that's kind of composting down, we won't add much to that. Set aside for leaves maybe. Once that's kind of composting down, we'll move it to the next bay. And as that one's building, we're building this one up too. The very last bay will be like a resting, and we'll let them rest. And then eventually it'll be beautiful soil that we can then transport all the way around the garden. So I think it's the perfect place for it. It's always shady here. It does get warm, so we want it to heat up, but it's not going to get too hot to where it just cooks the compost. So it's the next day, and we put in some work in this new compost system, and I want to give you a little tour. So when you come down to the compost, you're going to be greeted by a bench. This is like a potting bench or a gardener's bench, and this is going to be where trash goes. If we find any trash in the compost, we're going to pop it there. We're going to be able to take our buckets, open them up, dump them over the side like that. Then grab our hose. Right here, it's just hooked on there. We'll be able to turn it on there. Clean, 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 clean. Turn off the hose, hook it back there. Either bring the buckets back to the shelf that they go to in tier 3, or if we have extras, we can store them. Then you'll come around this way, and we've got the first bed. So this says building here, This is again where we're going to be building the compost, putting new things in. We're bringing the compost from up the hill to this bay or this spot. And then when it's done, we'll take it and we'll move it over here and we'll let it, you know, compost again. We won't add anything to it here. If we have new stuff to add, we'll just build a new pile. And then I haven't quite finished, so I need to find one more pallet. I'm gonna make a third bay for like just one more turn. So this will be like resting and then super resting, ready to go compost. Just really exciting. Over in this space, we've got a big wide open space. I think I mentioned that things like the straw or any leaves we get are gonna be piled here so that it's gonna be really easy to grab them, throw them in the compost, and it won't block that lovely walkway coming down to Circle One or coming down to the compost. So here is the semi-final product for the compost system. You can see we've got the hay bales moved down here. We've got the workbench ready to go. The wood won't be there. I just brought it out of Circle One because it was getting too wet. We have our sifters under there. Our hose is nicely hung. We've got our little trash spot because we get lots of trash coming through the compost. Here's the first bay. This is going to be the big building one where it's going to be the tallest. So I put a little door. This way we can pull the compost out and again pop it into bay 2. But then when we're filling it, we won't be tempted to fill it too close to the front. We'll be able to like plop stuff over. And we can still access it if we need to drop something from a wheelbarrow. Bay 2, I need to still dig that into the ground, but this is basically what it's going to look like. So one of the big changes is going to be up where the compost used to be. It was a very large space and I felt like it was going to waste. Up here, especially when compost doesn't need to take up that much room, and we had the perfect small space down by Circle One. So I'm going to show you up here now and kind of explain what I'm thinking we might do. So as you can see, there's the gazebo, there's the greenhouse, and this is where those pallets used to come out. Ding, ding, ding. And this is all like buried into the ground, and I think I want to keep it, but use it for something completely different. So as you can see, I still have to bring all this compost down actually to the new compost bin, but that's a work in progress, as everything is. We now have this huge space that I felt again was like, you wouldn't want to put seating up here, or you wouldn't want to put things up here because it's next to the compost, or it just felt kind of like unusable space. And then over here, our compost system actually was like up here and then around this whole area too. And again, just felt like this isn't usable space. So what I'm thinking in this side, which is near the tree with the really good branch that we like to sit on, I'm thinking we'll put the bunny coop, and yes, you heard that right. We are hoping to get bunnies. We'll see if we can make it work, but this would be a great place to put a little gate and then kind of maybe wrap something near this tree and make a big play space for the bunnies, and then we could, you know, climb this branch and look over into the bunnies. It's perfect because it's always shady up here, even when it's 110 degrees outside. It's really nice here, and it's covered for hawks and owls, so it protects the bunnies so they won't get eaten. Then on this side, I don't have any idea what we might do, but it could be a space for maybe another kind of animal, or a big seating space. Maybe we put raised beds and berries. I don't really know, but it frees up this huge space to get my mind working, so get my gears going, so we can figure out a really cool thing to put over here. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, one of the things I love about this garden in particular is just how dynamic and evolving the Seven Circles garden is. We have all these different circles with their different, you know, sun patterns and watering and how they hold water, and it's really cool to see how things just evolve over the years. This is finishing up my 5th year working here as the gardening teacher, and it's been really cool to see this go from kind of an simple empty garden to something that's really full and thriving, and just exciting to see how far we can take this. I'm excited to hopefully have you guys back next year and get all of our juices flowing. If we can, you know, start looking at spaces that existed before with a new eye, and then seeing, wait a minute, we don't have to do it the way it's always been done. We could change it up to make it something better. Like the compost was always up here, and it was just, that was where the compost was until the middle of the night the other night when I said, wait a minute, I don't need to have the compost there. I could move the compost and we could do something magnificent with that big shady space. Things like that. I'm excited to have you guys in the garden re-examining the space after almost a year of not really seeing it or working in it. And I think it'd be really cool to have you come in with your fresh eyes and maybe come up with new ideas on what we can do here. And I want to get your big ideas. I'm excited for next year and to see just how spectacular we can make this garden together. Until next time, friends.